Do you remember when the streets had their own familiar faces? The milkman's quiet clink of bottles at dawn, the coalman's heavy tread through the frost, the lamplighter's glow blooming in the dusk. These weren't just jobs, they were part of the rhythm of life in Britain, from the 1950s to the 1970s. People who knew your name, your habits, and sometimes even your secrets. Then, almost overnight, they were gone, replaced by machines, supermarkets, and modern convenience. Today, we're opening the photo album of the past to remember 10 forgotten British jobs that vanished in our lifetime. The lamplighter, guardian of the evening glow. Before timers and switches, the night's arrival was lit by a man with a pole and a steady stride. The lamplighter's job was simple but magical. At dusk, he'd walk the length of the street, unlocking darkness with a soft flame. You'd hear the hollow thump of his boots and the click as the lamp caught. For children, it was a nightly show. For adults, it was reassurance. The day had ended, the streets were safe. Many lamplighters knew their route like the back of their hand, greeting neighbours along the way. It wasn't glamorous work, but it carried dignity. By the late 1960s, electric lighting arrived, and the lamplighter's rounds stopped. Yet those who remember can still picture the warm halo of light in the mist and the quiet man who brought it, one lamp at a time. Number 9. The rag and bone man, the voice down the street. Long before recycling bins and refuse trucks, the rag and bone man was the original recycler. His cry of "any old iron" carried down rows of terraced houses, sometimes accompanied by the slow clip-clop of a horse pulling a wooden cart. He'd take scrap metal, rags, and even old toys, sometimes trading them for a few coins or even a small treat for the children. For many working-class families, he was a practical solution to clutter and a regular sight in the neighborhood. Kids loved running alongside the cart, hoping to see what treasures had been found. His job was part scavenger, part trader, part storyteller. By the mid-1970s, scrap prices fell and organized waste collection made his visits rare. But the sound of his voice, echoing between brick walls on a grey afternoon, remains a lasting memory for those who grew up with it. Number 8. The knocker-upper, the human alarm clock. Before alarm clocks were cheap and reliable, the knocker-upper was the one who got written to work on time. In the dim hours before dawn, they'd walk the streets carrying a long pole, or in some cases a pea shooter, to tap on upstairs bedroom windows. Each customer had their own time, and a missed knock could mean being late to the factory or missing the early train. The job was more than waking people up, it was about trust. Many knocker-uppers were older men and women supplementing their income, often knowing entire families by name. They worked in all weather, fog, frost, or rain, with nothing but a pocket watch and their list of houses. By the 1970s, affordable alarm clocks replaced them, but the thought of a friendly face making sure you woke on time feels far warmer than any buzzing phone could. Number 7. The coalman, strength in soot. For generations, the coalman's visit was as regular as the seasons. His arrival meant the promise of warmth through the coldest months. Driving a lorry stacked high with heavy sacks, he'd shoulder each one, often 50 kilos or more, and carry it to the coal shed at the back of the house. The work was brutal. Black dust clung to his clothes, the weight dug into his shoulders, and the cold wind bit at his face. Yet many remember the coalman's easy smile and quick chat before he moved on to the next house. Families planned deliveries carefully to last the winter, and children loved the sight of the lorry piled high like a wall of fuel. With the shift to gas and electric heating in the 1970s, the coalman's role faded. But the smell of fresh coal still carries the memory of his early morning rounds. The milkman, the day's first hello. Before plastic cartons lined supermarket shelves, the milkman was the first visitor of the day. In the early morning hush, you'd hear the gentle hum of the electric float and the clink of glass bottles against the metal carrier. Delivered fresh to your doorstep, milk often came with eggs, bread, and a cheerful "morning" from the milkman. For children, the foil tops were a prize. Peel them back, and you'd find a layer of rich cream. Some families left notes under the empties to order extra pints. Others paid weekly in coins wrapped in paper. The milkman was part of the street's routine, and everyone knew him. By the late 1970s, supermarkets, plastic packaging, and bulk buying reduced deliveries. But in those quieter years, the milkman wasn't just delivering milk, he was delivering a bit of neighborly connection before the day even began.
Number 5. The switchboard operator, voices behind the wire. Before direct dialing, every phone call began with a human voice. Number, please? Switchboard operators worked in rooms lined with blinking lights and cables, connecting callers by hand. They knew the regular voices, the chatty neighbor, the anxious mother, the businessman in a hurry. Their work demanded quick reflexes, perfect hearing, and a polite tone at all times. In an age when telephone calls were precious, operators sometimes found themselves part of moments, births announced, emergencies handled, even long-distance romances kindled. They sat at the center of a web of voices, unseen but essential. By the early 1970s, automation replaced the boards, ending a role that had been a lifeline for decades. But to those who remember, there was something reassuring about knowing there was always a person on the other end, ready to connect you.
Number 4. The lift attendant, courtesy between floors. In grand hotels, department stores, and office blocks, the lift attendant was as much a host as an operator. Dressed smartly, often in uniform, they'd welcome you into the lift, close the gate or door, and operate the controls with precision. As the lift ascended, they'd announce each floor with practiced clarity. Second floor, ladies' fashions. For regulars, they were a familiar face, sometimes even exchanging quick personal updates between floors. Their presence added a touch of formality and charm to the most ordinary journey. By the late 1960s, automated lifts with push buttons made their role unnecessary, and with them went a small daily courtesy. Today's lifts might be faster, but they'll never match the human warmth of being greeted and guided by someone whose job was to make the ride pleasant.
Number 3. The typesetter, craftsman of the printed page. In the era before computers, the printed word was built by hand. Typesetters arranged small blocks of metal letters, one at a time, into frames that formed pages. It was painstaking, technical work. One wrong letter could ruin a headline. In noisy, ink-scented workshops, these craftsmen stood for hours, eyes straining under dim light, producing newspapers, books, and posters that would be read across the country. Many learned the trade as apprentices, guided by older masters who valued precision above all. The skill was part art, part engineering, and deeply respected. But by the 1970s, phototypesetting and early computers made the process faster and cheaper. The clink of metal type and the quiet pride of a perfectly set page faded, but their legacy still sits in the crisp, balanced lines of vintage print.
Number 2. The bus conductor, the friend on the route. For decades, a bus ride meant two friendly faces, the driver and the conductor. The conductor collected fares, handed out paper tickets, and kept order among school children and commuters alike. They'd call out stops, ring the bell twice for the driver, and sometimes hop off to help someone with heavy shopping. In many ways, they were the public side of the service, quick with a joke, patient with lost tourists, and able to keep the bus moving smoothly. Kids remember trying to get a seat near the open platform at the back, where the conductor might let you jump on as the bus slowed. By the late 1970s, one-person operation buses took over, and the role vanished. Today's buses may be more efficient, but they've lost the human connection that made the ride feel like part of the neighborhood. The cinema usher, keeper of the magic. A night at the cinema was once more than just a film. It was an experience, and the usher was part of the magic. Dressed smartly, torch in hand, they guided you through the darkness to your seat, making sure you didn't trip or disturb others. During the interval, they might sell ice cream or sweets from a tray, adding to the evening's charm. They kept chatter to a minimum, found lost seats, and even calmed nervous children seeing their first film. Their presence gave the cinema an air of ceremony, as though you were part of something special. In the late 1970s, with self-service seating and fewer staff, ushers all but disappeared. Modern cinemas may have bigger screens, but without that warm greeting and beam of light leading you to your seat, something of the old magic is gone. And there we have it. 10 jobs that once shaped the heartbeat of British life, now just memories in dusty photo albums and family stories. These weren't just ways to earn a living, they were threads in the fabric of community. The lamplighter who tipped his cap, the milkman who left an extra pint when a baby was born, the fishmonger who saved the best catch for a loyal customer. Progress brought convenience, but it also quietly closed the doors on these everyday moments of human connection. If you remember any of these jobs, or perhaps worked in one yourself, we'd love to hear your stories in the comments. Share your memories so we can keep them alive for the next generation. And if you enjoyed this walk down memory lane, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we bring more of the past back to life.